Friends, in the U.S. state of Louisiana, there lies a calm and peaceful lake called Lake Peigneur. But behind its quiet surface hides one of the strangest, most unbelievable disasters in American history. On the morning of November 20th, 1980, this lake witnessed something so shocking, so impossible, that even today experts struggle to believe it actually happened. In the middle of the lake stood a massive Texaco oil drilling platform. Beneath it lay a huge underground salt mine, so large that it had tunnels 4 stories tall, big enough for trucks to drive through. That morning, 55 miners were working deep inside those tunnels. The lake above was calm, the mine below was stable, and everything seemed completely normal. But around 6 a.m., everything changed. A 14-inch drilling bit that normally turned smoothly suddenly jammed at a depth of 1,200 feet. This wasn't unusual, but when the crew tried to pull it back up, it refused to move. They applied more pressure. Suddenly, the drill jerked sideways, something that should never happen. Realizing something was terribly wrong, the senior engineer immediately ordered a full evacuation. Within seconds, the workers jumped into safety boats and raced toward the shore. That decision saved their lives. Just minutes later, the drilling platform began tilting. Slowly, then faster, until the entire 150-ton steel structure sank straight into the lake. And remember, this lake was only 10 feet deep, yet a massive platform with tons of heavy machinery disappeared instantly, as if something beneath the surface had pulled it into the earth. Fishermen watching from the shore couldn't understand how such depth suddenly appeared before their eyes. But the real nightmare was only beginning. The water didn't just fall, it began spinning. A monstrous whirlpool formed, growing larger and faster each second. Unknowingly, the drill had pierced through the roof of the salt mine 1,300 feet below. Millions of liters of lake water were now plunging into the mine like a waterfall into the underworld. As the water rushed in, the salt dissolved at incredible speed. Tunnels collapsed. The ground above began sinking, and the whirlpool grew even stronger. Trees were ripped out by their roots. A botanical garden near the shore slid toward the vortex. Cars, roads, parking spaces, everything began drifting toward that spinning hole. Even a small power station was pulled in and vanished beneath the water. The lake no longer looked like a lake. It looked like a giant black hole opening on Earth. But the most chilling part came after the disaster, when divers and experts tried to study what remained below the surface. What they found, or rather, what they didn't find, left everyone stunned. The lake bed was no longer a simple flat surface. It had become a twisted, mangled maze. Entire mining tunnels had folded into one another like crushed metal. Huge chambers that once echoed with machinery were now silent, flooded caverns vanishing into darkness. And somewhere deep within that darkness lay trucks, mining tools, steel beams, and entire structures, buried so far down that recovering them became impossible. It was as if the earth had swallowed an entire industrial world and locked it away forever. Meanwhile, something even stranger happened. The canal that normally carried lake water toward the Gulf of Mexico reversed its direction. For the first time in history, the ocean was flowing backwards. Salt water from the Gulf rushed into the collapsing lake, trying to refill the massive hole opening beneath Louisiana. The sound was terrifying, deep, powerful, like a gigantic engine roaring under the earth. By the time the disaster ended, the lake was no longer 10 feet deep. It was more than 200 feet deep, deeper than a 20-story building. Its freshwater ecosystem had been destroyed. Every plant, fish, and microscopic organism died instantly. But slowly, new marine species from the Gulf began to settle in, making the transformed lake their home. In just one day,
The entire geography, nature, and identity of the lake had changed forever. Investigations finally revealed the truth. This disaster wasn't natural, it wasn't supernatural, it wasn't fate. It was a human error, an engineering miscalculation. Texaco's team had placed the drilling site in the wrong position. The drill, instead of going straight down, drifted slightly and punctured the roof of the salt mine 1,300 feet below. That one mistake triggered one of the most dramatic collapses ever recorded on Earth. A mine destroyed, a lake reborn, a landscape changed forever.